Hi, welcome to Unhinged Tarot. My name is Angelina of Your Authenticity Witch, and Unhinged Tarot is where I explore readings for celebrities, alive or dead. Today's celebrity is Catherine Walters, a prolific sex worker of her time. If you enjoy this video, please consider interacting in some small way, as it really helps small channels like mine grow. So, without further ado, here's Catherine Walters. This reading is for 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 Catherine Walters. What was it like to be a gentleman's entertainer? This reading is for Catherine Walters. What was it like to be a gentleman's entertainer? This reading is for Catherine Walters. What was it like to be a gentleman's entertainer? This reading was for Catherine Walters. What was it like to be a gentleman's entertainer? So the only problem with using this deck is that there's a bunch of explicit nudity in it. It's not very YouTube friendly. It's not of the people. But that is probably why we have to use it for this reading for Catherine Walters. So I don't often use the Manara deck. And I feel like I've only used it like 3 or 4 times, maybe. It's a very dark deck because of the style of the illustration. It's like very metal. That's really the only way I can use to describe it. And I have done a past life reading with this deck, which turned out to be about a sex worker. And then I don't know a lot about Catherine Walters in general, just that she was a historical sex worker. And I went through this deck, wasn't allowed to use it. I tried to use this deck first, wasn't allowed to use it. This is my only other tarot deck. And it isn't, as I said, really YouTube friendly, but it hits on different illustrations of the representation of the main deck. Like, I think when we think about tarot, we're always thinking about this classic deck, even though this isn't everybody's interpretation of the cards. And I think for an individual such as Catherine, the best way to represent the dynamic nature of a sex worker is to represent the balance between darkness and light, which is something, of course, that we're all dealing with. But just in the major arcana cards that I pulled, there is a lot going on for this person. And I guess I want to start with the major arcana cards. I am doing this differently than I've done my videos in the past, which is where I show you all the cards and then we go through them. And it's mostly because I specifically need help with the interpretation, and so I'm going to be taking my time with this, even though I always take my time. I'm going to be very much taking my time. So, this deck is very explicit, and I want to start with the Priest, which is a major arcana card for us in this deck. This individual is exposing themselves as this dude who is marked as the priest is walking up upon the steps of what looks more like a monument than a church, which I feel like is important um in general to say, and I don't really know why yet, but the definition of the priest based on the interpretation of this is temptation, formality, external appearances, hierarchy, and experience. Also, I have possessiveness and tenacity. When I was going through these cards for Catherine, it is very apparent that there is both punishment and reward, pleasure and pain, and sacrifice and duty, as well as desire to have and do, and the embodiment of like extreme chameleon like behavior in the avenue of being this performer, this character, this person that any of her clients can relate to and have a good time with, which is the key, in my opinion, as an individual who's never participated in this kind of work, to being a success in your industry. However, the level of exploitation, whether it's a choice or not, is something that is noted throughout the way these cards are represented. And where the power lies, who holds the power. And it is Catherine, which is excellent. When we are seeing the difference, though, between the priest and then also this card, the punishment, um, in that it is sacrifice, um, or pain, or a contrasting point of view, that is societal. I mean, so, the industry of this work is large and grand, and it's never been respected, although it's always been needed. And I think that there's this niche that's being fit with her. And if there's any punishment, I think it would be the removal of her being able to integrate into the mainstream because of the reputation of someone who is not being chased in an era when that is the way women are supposed to be represented. Now, the power one gains from this work is the opposite of a punishment. And for whatever reason, I don't know a lot about this woman. For whatever reason, we're seeing the capacity to choose this industry over and over again for wealth and stability, for enjoyment of the work, for the the one work, I mean, that a woman is allowed to engage in for a lot of time, you know, like you're your own means of production, right? At some point, there's a lot of power in the choice is what I'm saying, and I think that she has the ability to create her own wealth and her own commodity, and the capacity to like sell your body and be rewarded in that. It feels fleeting and intangible as well as rewarding. Like there's something so very poignant and weirdly sad that's coming through. Because even though you are holding the power, you're still just an object. That is what I am hearing. Um, so, despite the pack, bleh, despite the fact that she has so much beauty and abundance and femininity, and her beauty and personality and that chameleon like behavior affords her the capacity to be in like in many rooms and many spaces with many people, acquire many clients, many friends within the industry, um, is a blessing, like the embodiment of sex in a way that is hyper feminine and therefore a superpower that requires the delicacy and strength of commitment and vision in order to continue when there are obstacles. When we think of the strength card, we are met with courage and influence and compassion, right? Um, to tame your animal instincts, to tame your gut reactions and your emotions and channel these. And I'm wondering how much of her work was actually using those things, her spirit and her intuition, which I hope was a lot of her work, in order to create the kind of relationships that she's looking for in her clients, right? In this representation of strength, this is not, it's for sure a tree. Obviously, it's just a giant tree that she's holding on to. Um, what if, like, what if she's just, I don't know why this is funny so much, but what if she's just this lady who's like super down to fuck and she didn't want to get married. And so she was like, what can I do in order to like not be married but have money? And she was like, I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna bang. That's really funny to me. Professionally for money, and I'm going to be really good at it because I am hot. Not only am I hot, but I am an amazing actress. That's my vision of Catherine Walters. Because I think that a lot of this practice for her is about using her inner strength, her will, but also her desire for the life that she wants to live in order to create and maintain this lifestyle for herself. which is pretty exciting. And I like the representation of Catherine as the strength individual holding on to, like I said, the shaft of a tree. It's for sure a tree in that photo. So then we have the sun. Pretty exciting. Is this the culmination? Is this the vibe? Is this what she has received? It's hard to say. We're not there yet. We're obviously not there yet in order to read the um, meaning of the sun in this card reading. In this card reading. So what the fuck else do we have going on here? So I pulled a shit ton of kings and queens. Okay, I pulled the King of Swords, and I pulled the King of Pentacles, and I also pulled the Queen of Pentacles. Did I? I pulled a King and Queen of someone. I don't even fucking remember. So the King of Swords, the King of Cups, someone who is emotionally balanced, compassionate, and diplomatic. Great vibes to have in reference to building and creating a business. I think what allowed Catherine to stand out in this business is her tactful actions, her emotions, the way in which she could be emotionally manipulative while being emotionally genuine. Not necessarily that she loved and enjoyed every one of her Johns, but that she was able to represent herself that way, genuinely able to tap into the emotions that required her to be present and capable through all of her interactions. So the King of Cups is really important because it is that balance. Interesting. It is that balance, that emotional diplomacy, right? They're saying this book that I'm looking at that is telling me about these cards, they're saying that it's emotionally balanced and that there's also diplomacy involved, but it's emotional diplomacy. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it has to do with the ability to rule while not appearing to rule, which is emotional diplomacy, serving with your emotions. And then I want to jump backward and talk about a card that doesn't matter because I didn't pull that one. LOL. That's so interesting though. So diplomacy. Tell me more. Tell me more, Catherine, because so far I feel like we haven't learned anything. So I guess I wonder, like, where her Venus was and where her Mars was placed, and where her moon was. Because I wonder what enabled her to be so diplomatic while also being so pragmatic, emotional yet pragmatic. It's like the embodiment of two different people. It's like that sincere balance. So she was like the most well suited for this career. Um, and I want to say that in reference to the Nine of Cups. And I say this because, well, I'm pulling the Nine of Cups, but also with the way that I see her interacting in these different places. Like, um, I think that where some people can be gaudy in appearance or lack refinement as far as their manners and the way that they come across in private settings, can prevent them from being really successful in this business. But it was like, once she was clocked in for this job, that was the only thing that she was focused on. And it made her a really unique, special character in this business because it really made the individuals that she was seeing feel so special and like they were the only ones that were paying her for this work. It was like the world around them shut down and they could focus on her. And because she was the shining light in the room, focusing on these people, giving them exactly what they needed in order to feel satisfied in the interaction. And there's something about the ability to bring satisfaction to her clients that made her feel satisfied. So it was an emotional satisfaction as well as a monetary satisfaction. And that's where the emotional diplomacy comes in. The ability to serve somebody in a diplomatic way, but knowing exactly what emotions you need to bring to the table, which is why I said it was something like emotional manipulation while also being emotionally genuine, in that the emotions brought forth were genuine, but they were also there to use, not to use, but to enhance the interaction so that they were like well suited, well fitted, no matter what. And it never came across as being fake. It is a really specific talent that I don't think everyone has. Um, it is like mutual satisfaction, and it is mutual pleasure, and it is mutual enjoyment of beauty and art and physical pleasure. It is, it, it is just, it is just like an exchanging of joy between everyone involved. And it's like, everyone knows what they're profiting from when they're experiencing the interaction, but the profit isn't the end goal. It's actually being in the moment. Like there was something so vibrant, vivacious, joyful, committed, playful, very like fun and easy to get along with that this person brought to all of their interactions. Like she could be who you needed in every interaction and every social situation, whether like you were bringing her out to an event or you were just spending time alone with her. Like it is like completely, it is completely, totally flowing around, in between whatever person you need and whatever person you want. And that's what I like about the priest representation of her sitting on this monument and the priest being enamored in this sort of watchful way. Because what oh it's like it's it's vulnerable, but it's also um like exhibitionism, and there is like a clear power dynamic that's being established, as well as it being like sneakily powerful. Do you know what I mean? Like the willingness to make yourself vulnerable in order to make the other person feel powerful. And I guess what's interesting about that representation is that it is, um like of course it's role playing, but it's more than role playing in a sexual sense. It's also a role playing in human behavior. Do you know what I mean? I know what I mean. And there's that. But then, with the Empress, and the bowing down, having this gentleman bowing down to them, the power that she has in her body, but also in the way that she handles herself emotionally, is very enticing, and I feel like it is a power that is always exuded from her, and that it can be turned on in an instant, meaning that, you know, she's just at the grocery store buying apples, and like even in that interaction, there is some sensuality and controlled power and like intimate female control, like the level of femininity and the capacity to be I'm really struggling to explain this because it's just a feeling that I have, and it's like, how do you describe it? But it's like, you know, those people who are unintentionally flirting with everyone? It's like that. But this is just a constant dynamic that she has, because, and it is her power, it is her superpower, which is what um, makes her so good at this job. And it always feels so personal, and no matter who she's interacting with, whether it's her client or the grocer, it is so like time stops, and you feel like the only one in the room, and you feel very special. And it's so personal and intimate that people like think about her when she's gone. Like she brightens their day and gives them like a little piece of herself, but not in a I'm emptying my cup sort of way, but in a I'm brightening your day because you're brightening my day, like really a woman of the people. Like she seems really precious. And I don't even like, we think of the word femme fatale and it's like a bad thing, but I'm thinking of the word femme fatale and I'm like, this is a good thing. Like this feels really good and really powerful, and like people are interested in the way that she interacts with people. So um impressionability, interesting. Well, it's interesting. Okay, so two of the other words for the punishment, which is this card, is impressionability and inspiration. And this has to do more with what I was just talking about in an intimate setting. Also, like, fuck, it was a different time period then. And I don't think that she was accepting of being in a position where women were not capable of having big ideas and speaking their minds. And I think that made it hard for her to integrate in contemporary society. However, the people that she interacted with in her space, client wise, really cherished this about her, and she was wanted for her mind. And I think I said this earlier, but the only punishment that she would be facing is that she's unable to integrate into contemporary society around her at that time. But it is not something that she feels is wrong. It is more of her superpower dynamic. And part of the thing that keeps her aloof but charming is that she knows that she's different, she embraces that she's different, and she cherishes that she's different, which is part of the reason why we have the Sun card, because it is both the sun is smiling on you when I'm around you, but I also have the sun shining upon me because of the way that I stand so steadfast in my own reality. So that's cool. At the same time, I have the Six of Cups. Um, well, that's not true. I don't think that happened. The Six of Cups, revisiting the past, childhood memories, innocence, joy. Generally speaking, I think she's a really playful and fun character, someone who's like really jovial and down to clown, and embody that childhood wonder and joy and playfulness. And I think that for her life, like that was just a facet of her personality that she really enjoyed. But with her clients, it was something that was really cherished. Like, I can't stress enough about how she was an individual of change and desire. And the fact that she was outside of society in this way while also being a part of society made her so shiny and attractive. It's so bold how shiny and attractive she was. And there is, I mean, there are going to be moments of sorrow just in that part of this life is a lonely time. But there is financial reward. And regardless of that loneliness, that tangible loneliness of, I think, just isolation in general, she wanted for nothing in a tangible sense, which is cool. But I think that if we see her thinking about anything and wanting anything, like in regards to the Ace of Swords, it would be for her success in a monetary way, also leading to knowing that people who were interested in her to become genuine friends, and less like seeing her as a spectacle. Because I get the impression that there was some there was some like exploitation of her that she both allowed and hated, that was to I don't know, not to like make her seem dumb, but like women in particular would be in the position to try and exploit her and make her feel poorly about her station, which was that she wasn't owned by anybody and she didn't have to answer to anybody. She made her own money. She was free within her own rights and purposes. And because of that, there's actually this incredible air of jealousy from the people around her that didn't understand why you would engage in this work in order to achieve those things. Because wouldn't it be safer and easier to live by the rule of one man and have this theoretical security, than to not have that theoretical security? When in reality, which is something that I don't think a lot of people understood, when in reality, she, Catherine Walters, was more secure being unmarried, being a woman of the night, and having this income and affluence in that part of society because she wasn't tied down to anybody, because the laws were not in favor of women. Do you know what I mean? So when I talk about, and I haven't even talked about this yet, when we talk about the Two of Pentacles and that balancing of society and money and her appearance and women and men and women and her work and her pleasure, it seems like a constant push-pull because I do feel like regardless of the way in which Catherine presents herself, there is a sort of there's like a piece of the puzzle missing in that she does have everything she wants, but she also doesn't have everything she wants. So I want to mention this um, Ace of Swords again because we are seeing that there is thought and vision for potentially a different life or a different plan, um, a different idea, maybe some potential doubts, and recognizing like this is a journey that I'm on and I do enjoy it and it has given me a lot of means, but what has it also taken away from me? And I think that is where multiple priorities come in. And I wonder how much of her life was thought of trying to balance what it is she thought she wanted and what it is she has. Do you know what I'm saying? Because there is a lot of gifts. There is a lot of like monetary, tangible gifts. But I also think there's a lot of recognition that what she's doing and engaged in and the clients that she has and the lifestyle that she's in is very transient. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think that um, that was an immediate recognition. And I feel like this also speaks to the power play between herself and society, as well as people who she was betting. And I wonder if there was in particular like one or two really shitty dudes when she was first engaging in this work before she really had her intuitive wits about her. Like I think in her private life she was an incredibly intuitive person, but there was like a dynamic switch that had to take place where originally she was incredibly intuitive and understanding and able to read people and understand emotions and her role in situations, but then when it came to applying that to working in the industry, the changing of how that worked and being able to see the level in the level was a little more complicated than she originally thought. And I feel like there was like a period of adaptation that had to take place, which was probably giving her a push and pull. And I imagine as well creating some doubts. Like, I doubt that this was all a fucking cakewalk for her. I'm sure that there were times in which it was incredibly alienating and that regardless of the financial security of it all, like you're still an object. And I know I've said that before, but like you're still an object and you are still at the whim of people around you, like whether or not you're the commodity in that time and that place. Do you know what I mean? Like you do have the power, but like when does that power expire and like what are you going to do when that power expires? Because women age in a very different way than men age. And I feel like by the time she's like 40, there's going to be a huge problem between being the commodity of her time and now being an older woman who once did have the power. And maybe part of this punishment is that society eventually left her. You know, the Johns eventually left her, that things did dry up, and that wasn't something that she considered. And maybe that is where things shift for her and priorities change. And I say that because I also have this Five of Pentacles, which is interesting in that we're constantly seeing her come up with success and gratitude and this really strong, wonderful, shining personality. But I think that eventually all that's left is her personality. I feel like there's like this really incredible downfall that happens. And I'm not sure if that is with society or if that's with her work, or if it's with her society in work. But there's a period of loss for her. And see how all these men are still around objectifying her, but she is beaten down. Her hair's messy, like her clothes are disheveled. She dropped all of her things on the ground, like from her purse, or she's down there with a bunch of litter and it looks like she's gonna hurl. Like, I don't know what went wrong. If it's emotional, if it's tangible. Is this emotional or tangible? Would you give me some more information, please? Can I have more information, please? Can I have any more information about this? Can I have any information at all about this? Fucking dorks. Not giving me any fucking information. Can I have any information about this? Any more information about this? Oh shit. Well, they're so funny. All right. I said, can I have any more information about this? And I fucking pulled the loss card, fucking the newt. Obviously, that's what we're talking about. Sorry. And then I pulled innocence. And then I pulled creativity. Okay. So, okay. All right. All right. Cool. Cool, 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 cool. All right. Finally, we have some information. Okay. So, here's what I'm being told. I'm being told that. Shut up. Shh. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. Okay. I'm being told that there was I'm being told that there was a loss of innocence at an early time, which could be SA on her personal body. I'm feeling like 12, 13 years old, something that was unexpected, like some old gross dude took advantage of her, potentially someone that she knew personally. And even though that event was traumatic for her, it also fueled the desire to take back her sexuality and create this new life for herself using the thing that was used as a weapon against her. In reference to the creativity aspect, this is about her ability to adapt and change no matter the circumstance. Like, she is wholly able to pivot and create different streams of revenue or thought that allows her to always end up at the goal that she sets her mind to. So, no, this is not a revenge plot. This is a story of someone who used trauma in order to get everything she wanted from men. Somebody who had transgressed her. Not like she didn't go back and bang that dude. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that in the wake of the transgression, using her power in order to get back what it is that she lost. Now, the question is, since this was monetary, did it actually work? And the answer is no. I think that there's still a great deal of uh, sadness in reference to the loss of her childhood and unique disposition. Like, she kept all of the she kept all of her personality traits. She kept all of her desires and dreams for a different life, even though it was from her, removed from her, attempted to be removed from her. And now there was no chance for healing, though, because regrettably, although she's really fucking good at her job, there was never like any therapy given or uh reckoning that she lost her innocence or like childhood preservation. It isn't as if um she went to her parents and was like yada 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 and they were like, oh shit, that sucks, because there's probably a likelihood that this happened to other people in her life, and it just like is what was happening, because unfortunately that literally is what is happening. So I also have the King and Queen of Pentacles, and I think that's very interesting because I feel like before I say anything, I'm just gonna take in some information right now. I feel like there's either two things that happened. The first being that she didn't feel like there was the capacity for her to do this career on her own, that she didn't have like the mental stamina and like fortitude and ability to like plan and keep her date book and do the things and demand a specific amount of money. Um, and so she started working with someone who would help her, or she already had somewhat of a financial background. By financial background, I mean money. And that allowed her a business mindset. Like, maybe her relationship with her father was such that he did teach her about business, even though that wouldn't have been a thing that you do with your daughter at the time. But I am seeing as well that there is more of that blending of emotional nurturing and diplomacy that leads to financial success, emotional balance. Like, the ability to read people is at the forefront of this interaction, and one could say that it could be due to trauma, that has to do with the ability to read people, or that this was innate within her and she used this capacity. Excuse me, sorry, I'm dropping all these cards. She used her capacity as an empath to help her in these situations. Is there anything else you would like to say here today? All right, what do we have? Oh, conflict, love, initiative, adversity. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So, mm, a lot of the same information. Unfortunately, it's so funny. Card reading cards is so funny because a lot of times you're like, all right, I'm going to pull oracle cards in order to help me understand this better. And then the oracle cards are just another representation of all the cards that you just fucking talked about. Okay. So, in reference to the Black Swan with love, it is very apparent that her clients loved her and that she was very cherished in the industry, and that people would have defended her and wanted to see the best for her, and that she was potentially like a top earner because of her personality and her capacity to make every single one of the people she was engaged in feel uniquely, incredibly special. Just so special. Like, that is the thing that she is prized for in her community. And I don't think that other people were really bringing that to the table. They were literally there for the physical side and not for the emotional side. And that is where she stood above and beyond. In reference to initiative, with the woodpecker, innovative in her industry, top of the line, um, so willing to play ball, to learn new skills, to be adaptable, like incredibly charming and capable, very much willing to do whatever it took to be the best in this industry, and to do it in the hopes of burying past hurts. And I don't really think that she ever was able to bury past hurts, but I do think that while she was engaging with things, she was able to um, put those things to rest. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, when it was quiet and she was alone, there wasn't as much. It didn't hurt as much as it used to, but it still was there. But the adaptability, though, with the innovation really helped with the adversity. And I think that beyond the fact that society just like wasn't ready for a person like this, she was very, very cherished. And that's really cool. Like, I'm really glad that she was very cherished, but I want to look up the hippopotamus because I feel like there's something about the conflict that I'm not able to pinpoint. When the hippo does become submerged, they can hold their breath for up to 5 minutes and fold their ears and nostrils to keep water out. When you find yourself in conflict with others or yourself, be mindful that you don't close yourself up to strong emotion. Shutting your eyes and ears won't make things disappear. It will make you blind. Submerging yourself in conflict to advance beyond it is a necessary process. Shifting around on the surface of your problems just stirs what lies below. This card encourages you to delve deeply to find the emotional root of the problem, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. Okay, so then the question actually would be though, okay, so I've said all this stuff about Catherine, but like the question would be is how much of her work actually enabled her to heal things that were wrong? Like, in what ways was like role playing helping her deal with issues and process emotions? In what ways was like her literal character work as a person in this industry, but also like was there a point in time where she finally clicked and had the recognition, like, oh, this is exactly what's wrong. This is exactly what I'm feeling. This is exactly what I need to do in order to move forward. Because, like, all in all, it seems like she had a really pleasant, wonderful time being this generation's top sex worker. And that's super cool. But the tinge of reality um beyond like I'm doing this as a way to maintain the power in myself, like how much of that really was healed from this? Like, was there constant internal conflict that created a desire to keep moving forward, or was there external conflict that created more internal conflict, or was there like a marrying of both internal and external conflict that helped her problem solve? Like, we all experience situations throughout our lifetime that trigger us into different states of being and different times of being, that and either enable us to heal from a past situation, or trigger us and then fucking break us because we haven't been able to heal past that situation. So, like, I wonder if part of this action that Catherine went through to decide to create this career for herself was intentional, and she knew that by using this as a way to create a way to get her power back, that she would be able to take charge of the transgression that happened to her body. Because yeah, I mean, her personality and the power dynamic and how beautiful like she was as an individual soul, like all of that was very natural to her. The only issue that took place was this assault that I found out about because I pulled oracle cards. So like, what are we doing? Like, what is she doing now? Well, she's dead. What is she doing now, you might say? She's dead. um I guess the question would be, let's see if we can get it. Catherine, do you think that you healed doing this work? Oh, you're so funny. You're so funny. I got the Nine of Cups. um, which is a yes. That's so funny. That's so funny, dude. That's so fucking funny. Oh my god. Okay. All right. Well, that's all I have for you. Okay, so if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. This was my reading for Catherine Walters, a dead celebrity sex worker of her time. Thank you so much for being here. Please leave a comment, please subscribe, please like, please interact. It really helps my channel grow, and I really appreciate you for sticking around. If you are interested in any of the spiritual work that I do, personal tarot readings, Reiki, Akashic record healing, coaching, I do it all and I'm happy to help. So again, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.